So hey guys, welcome to TechPP. I guess we are live now. We don't have any viewers yet, so we are going to wait for a while to see if people join in. I hope the notifications have gone through, and I hope the audio is fine. I'm not entirely sure of how well the audio is working. Please let us know in the chat if you can hear me speak. Hope the audio is fine. Let me just put it out in the chat. So we have 3 viewers, and we also have 2 people who've liked the video. Thank you. But let us know if the audio works fine. Because I'm not really sure at the moment if the audio is working well. Okay, so looks like the audio is actually working fine, which is good. There are 4 people watching now. Let us wait for a couple of more to join in. And even if there aren't a lot of people watching right now, this video will stay live on the channel even after the stream ends. So you can have a look at the video at a later point in time as well. So we have the Oppo F15 with us, just been launched for a price of rupees 19,990. Again, this isn't there in the market to compete with your online specific phones, so it's not a spec to spec comparison with other phones in the market, but looks like a nice package that Oppo is trying to offer with the F15, especially for consumers in the offline market. So if there are any questions that you all specifically have, you can please ask us and we will answer that. If I have to speak about how the phone is in general, let's go category wise like we usually do in all our reviews. And also if you're more comfortable with Hindi, then we have done a day in the life video, which you will find in the description below. So you can take a look at that in case you are more comfortable with Hindi. So the let's begin the review, if you may. So speaking of the build quality and the design, first up, Oppo has actually done a really nice job with the build on this phone. Now you can see the design is actually quite generic. We are used to seeing this design in a lot of phones of late. But again, the what you get colors, the unicorn white, which is this one, and they have a black variant as well. But the build quality is actually really nice because despite the fact that the back is plastic, uh, you actually get a 4000 mAh battery in a form factor that is actually pretty thin. Not sure how well you're able to see that on the camera, but it actually feels really thin in the hand compared to other phones. And that's a really nice thing. It's also quite long and narrow. It's a 20:9 aspect ratio. So that's pretty nice. You can actually use it one-handed pretty well. And the sides are again, I think it's plastic. It's not metal, but not a bad thing. Looks quite good. You also get a TPU case in the box that you can use along with the phone. So now that we're done with the build quality and design, moving to the front of the phone, we get a pretty large 20:9 display again, as I said, and there is a water drop notch at the top, which is actually quite small compared to other water drop notches. And the quality of the display is nice. It's an AMOLED panel. The colors are really good. It gets pretty bright even in outdoor conditions. And the black levels, of course, are really nice and deep, just as you would expect with any other AMOLED display. And given that it's an AMOLED display, you also get an in-display fingerprint scanner, which is actually really nice and quick. It's nice and responsive. It's quite accurate as well. And it's really quick because Oppo has been working on it for some time, and they claim it's the third generation of the in-display fingerprint scanner, and it works pretty well. So that's pretty much it about the display. If you watch a lot of content, videos or movies, you're gonna like the display panel on the Oppo F15. Now let's talk about performance, because that's again something important, and a lot of people look for the performance in a smartphone. Now the internals are not very promising on the F15. You actually get a Helio P70 chipset, which is quite old now and quite underpowered, I feel, for a smartphone that costs 20,000 rupees. That's not saying that the phone does not perform well. It does considerably well when it comes to day-to-day tasks, and even gaming can be pretty good on the smartphone. We've actually played PUBG. You can check out again the Hindi day in the life video that we have. We have actually showed some gameplay in that, and the phone actually performs pretty well. You get a decent 30 FPS gameplay even on PUBG, and if you run normal tasks like WhatsApp, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, then there is nothing that actually hinders the performance on the Oppo F15. Now there is Color OS on top of Android 9, and now that's a personal preference if you really like Color OS or not. I'm sorry, I'm pausing here for a bit because I see a couple of questions. So smartwatch user says, "What's your view on P70? You could have gone with G70 maybe." Okay, so I'm not sure about if they could have gone with the G70. Of course, they could have given a better chipset. P70 is not a bad chip, but again, Realme has given, I mean, of course, I shouldn't compare the two brands because Realme is online specific and they're very aggressive with their pricing. But yes, we did get the Helio P70 chipset in under rupees 10,000, and this is double the price. So yes, they probably should have gone for a Snapdragon 675 or a 710. Not expecting a 730G here because again, it's an offline specific phone. So maybe a Snapdragon 710 could have been better. But yeah, the P70, it does perform decently well, as I already said. No complaints there, but yes, we did expect a better chip. Mohammad Riaz asks, is this mobile phone comparable to the Redmi Note 7 Pro? Okay, now the Note 7 Pro is a pretty old device. I think it's almost been a year since it was launched. And if you want to compare it, the performance on a Note 7 Pro is obviously going to be better. The Snapdragon 675 is a much better chipset compared to the Helio P70. And also, I feel the battery life on the Note 7 Pro would be better, and the camera as well. Now, you do get quad cameras on this. We'll speak about the cameras in a bit. But if you're directly comparing it with the cameras on the Note 7 Pro, even though that has just a dual camera setup, the primary shooter on that is a 48 megapixel Sony IMX 586, which is better than the Samsung GM1 on this, even though it is a 48 megapixel shooter. So yeah, I hope I've answered your questions. Now coming back, as I was saying, there's Color OS, of course, as with every Oppo device. And while Color OS has a ton of features, it's actually feature packed to an extent wherein if you're gaming, you can even change your voice to a female's voice. So that's, I mean, if you're into that kind of a thing, then maybe it's a nice feature for you. But yeah, you have your clone apps, and then you have your gaming space, and then you have all your security features like app lock and all that baked right into the OS, which is nice. But I've also observed that I'm not sure you can see that, but you have these, hot apps and hot games recommendations right in your app tray, and you cannot get rid of that. And that's pretty sad, actually. I mean, if we are blaming Xiaomi and Realme for displaying ads, I mean, I feel this is as good as displaying ads on the UI, though it's not as intrusive. So yeah, that's it about Color OS. It's all subjective. I see a couple of more questions. Okay, so Raju says the back looks pretty much like the P30 Pro. Yes, it actually does. especially the gradient, the blue that you see, it actually resembles the P30 Pro. We don't have it right now over here, or else would have compared it with that. Mohammad Riaz asks again, is the P70 better than the Snapdragon 660? Well, I think that's debatable. If you go by benchmarks, I think the P70 would probably score better than the 660. Don't quote me on this. I'm not entirely sure about this. But of course, we have seen in the past that the Snapdragon 660 or any Snapdragon processor for that matter is slightly more power efficient when compared to MediaTek chips. I feel that the software is more optimized to run on on Qualcomm SoCs when compared to MediaTek. So while the performance might be better on the P70, we feel that the 660 might still be a more stable chipset. But again, I think they're very similar in terms of the range where they are situated. So yeah, any more questions? Okay, overpriced, as simple as that, says Ashim Roy. Well, yes, but again, as we said, this is not your average online only flash sale model smartphone. This is mainly for offline markets, wherein you have to consider factors like margins and seller margins and all the cost with regards to logistics and the commission that they have to pay to offline retailers and all that. So all that gets added in when you consider the overall cost. So I think uh, I'm not saying that the price is justified, but yes, you cannot expect phones like these to be priced neck to neck with online only counterparts. So yeah, that's why the price has gone up to 20,000. Well, yeah, coming back to the phone itself, I think we've spoken about the performance, and the next topic that I would like to highlight is cameras. So we do get a quad camera setup on the back, and it says designed for F series, and we get quite an elongated flash module. So yeah, the primary shooter is a 48 megapixel Samsung GM1 sensor. It's not the Sony IMX586, so it's using the pixel binning technology to basically produce 12 megapixel shots. And the camera actually is a mixed bag. The primary shooter is what I'm talking about right now. Now, in daylight, it actually does not too bad. The details are missing, and there is a lack of dynamic range in the shots, is what we observe. Again, if you want to check out the camera samples, we'll actually upload them onto a drive folder and leave them in the description or in the pinned comment as soon as the stream is done. But if you want to check them out now, you can go to our Hindi channel, and the day in the life has about 30 to 35 camera samples for you to take a look at. So yeah, the primary shooter is not very good in daylight, which is surprising given a lot of these phones do very well in daylight, whereas in low light is where they suffer. But this one is actually the converse. In daylight, it actually doesn't do all that well. It takes decent shots for your Instagram or Facebook or any social media platforms. But if you pixel peep, you'll realize that the dynamic range is actually not that good. We saw that the highlights were blown and the shadows were not preserved too well. And again, the details weren't as good. Whereas in low light, surprisingly, the night mode actually does pretty well. And that is something we observe. So I feel that Oppo has worked really well on the night mode software implementation. So that's done pretty well on the F15. Moving on, we have an 8 megapixel ultra wide shooter. And this one again is not that great. Of course, you can take some really nice shots. You have a 119-degree field of view, so you can get in more people and all that. But yeah, details are less. And one good thing is that in low light, you can actually use the night mode on the wide angle lens as well. So that's handy if you want to do that. And also, the wide angle shooter can even shoot macro images, which is really nice. They haven't given a dedicated lens for macro shots, you can use the wide angle lens. When you go close to a subject, it automatically detects that you're taking a macro shot and switches to the macro mode. Now the remaining two lenses I feel are like almost equivalent to dummies, because one is a 2 megapixel monochrome sensor. Now I don't know why. I think brands used to use a monochrome and RGB sensor together, and a 2 megapixel depth sensor for portrait shots. So yeah, that's not sure how useful that is. Let's see if there are any questions. Ashim says Vivo V15 Pro is cheaper and better, and it's available offline as well. Okay, yeah. So Vivo V15 Pro again, yeah, that has a pop-up camera. If I'm not wrong, it gets dual pop-up cameras, and yeah, it has a better chipset too. And yes, it is available offline. So yeah, that's a better value for money proposition. Uh, okay, I want Raju PP on screen. So unfortunately, we are not in office right now, so we won't be able to do that. Will there be F15 Pro? No, there is not going to be an F15 Pro. The F15 is the only version that they're launching, and there is only one variant of the F15 that they're launching, which is with 8 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of onboard storage, which is surprising. I think they should have probably got another cheaper variant, probably with 6 gigabytes of RAM and 64 gigabytes of internal storage, and maybe price it at 16,000 or 17,000 Indian rupees. I think that would be better, and would have a better reach in terms of the number of units sold as well. But yeah, this is what it is. We're just getting one variant as of now. Chinmay says, big fan, sir. Thank you. So yeah, getting back to the cameras, as I said, the shooters they're decent, nothing to write home about, just good for your casual clicks. The front has a 16 megapixel shooter. Selfies turn out actually pretty nice. The portrait mode is good. The edge detection is actually nice, and the skin tones are pretty good. Actually, Oppo said they worked on making their beautification algorithm a little more natural, because that's what they say Indian users like. So yeah, that is in place, but the skin in general was a little soft in my opinion. Again, you can check out the samples in our day in the life video, and we'll also leave them in the description once we're done with the stream. So yeah, that's about it for the cameras. If I have to sum up the cameras in daylight, they're okay, they're decent, but in good lighting, they're decent. I mean, and in low light, they actually do kind of well, better than in good lighting, I would say. So yeah, that's regarding the cameras. And the final aspect that I want to speak about is in terms of battery life. Before that, let's see if we have any questions. So Akshay Agarwal says yes to collab. Yes, we would love to do that. And Moon Tune asks, bro, are you from PSU? Yeah, I do study in PS University. Yeah, so getting back to the phone, the battery life, we do get a 4000 mAh battery on the Oppo F15, and it actually does really well. Again, if you want to know about battery updates throughout the day, I would suggest you to watch our day in the life video on our Hindi channel. But if I have to summarize, you can easily get through a single day of usage with this phone. Also, I did the thing is that yesterday was Makar Sankranti, so it was a holiday. I didn't go out anywhere, so I was at home all the time, and I was connected to the Wi-Fi network. So what I did was, in between for about 2 hours, I switched to mobile data only, and I also had the always on display turned on. Not sure if the camera is able to catch that, but yeah. So what I observed in those 2 hours duration was that the standby drain is actually pretty poor if you're on mobile data. So in about 2 hours, I ended up draining 15% battery with the always on display. So that is a little alarming. But if you're on Wi-Fi, the battery actually does really well. I got about 4.5 to 5 hours of screen on time with the F15. And the best part is that the battery life is good, but you also get fast charging, which is Oppo's VOOC 3.0, and that really helps in taking the battery performance even further, because given that the battery already lasts you an entire day, you even get VOOC charging, which is similar to dash charge if you've used OnePlus devices in the past. You can get up to 60% in about half an hour, and a full charge in about an hour and 15 or hour and 20 minutes, which is again really nice. These are some key USPs of the F15, that the battery is good. And finally, Oppo has made a move to USB-C, which is really nice to see. Micro USB is thing of the past. And I really hope going forward they actually maintain the USB-C port throughout their phones. Also, Akshay Agarwal has donated 40 rupees to Super Chat. Thank you so much for that. What is the price? Asks Mr. Khandakar. It is rupees 19,990, and you can purchase it through offline stores. Well, yeah, so that is pretty much the overview of the Oppo F15. You also get a headphone jack, talk about some miscellaneous things, which is nice. They still preserved it. You get a single bottom firing speaker, which is kind of underwhelming. Nothing great about that. But overall, I would say the pros of the Oppo F15. I'm sorry, Ashim says you should have given metal frames in 20K at least. Well, yeah, they could have. They could have also given us a glass back. But yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, coming back, the speaker is pretty. Yeah, not that great. Yeah, so to sum up, the pros of the F15, in our opinion, would be that the display is really nice. It's an AMOLED panel. You can really enjoy content on the display, and the overall build quality and design is actually really nice. I'm really surprised by how Oppo has managed to fit in a 4000 mAh battery in this form factor. It's actually really nice and thin, and it feels really light. Now, it is about 160, 170 grams, so it's not all that light, but the weight distribution is done excellently on the F15. It actually feels really nice to hold, and the design overall is a nice touch. Now, the performance is okay for day-to-day apps. You won't face any issues. Satyam Gaming says hello, and he also asks, "Can you please tell me about the processor?" Yes, it is the Helio P70 chipset. As I've already mentioned, it's again not too good, but it is what it is. That's what Oppo has decided to give us. They could have gone with Snapdragon 710 or a 675, but P70 is what we have. Uh, is it Color OS 7 or 6? It's actually Color OS 6.1 still. I hope you're able to see that. And we did ask Oppo about when the Color OS 7 would be rolled out, and they said it's coming soon. Now, not sure how soon that soon really implies, but yeah, I think with Color OS 7 already out in the mainstream, they should have launched this phone with Color OS 7 out of the box, but unfortunately that's not the case, and it's also still running Android 9, which is again disappointing. So yeah, coming back to the pros and cons, sorry, what would be the next edition? We don't know. We don't know if this is going to have 2 variants. This one does not have any. Okay, I'm getting an error saying your connection is unstable. I hope it's better now. Yeah, so the performance is adequate for day-to-day apps, but if you want to play PUBG, you can get the Realme X2. I think that's a much better option. Cameras are again pretty decent in daylight and low light. Actually, low light is better, is what our opinion is. And you get fast charging, great battery life. That pretty much sums up the Oppo F15 for a price of rupees 20,000. Of course, if you're looking for phones in the online space, you can find much better options. But for what it is, I think the F15 is a decent phone. It's a I wouldn't say it's a very well-rounded phone. The performance, again, the chipset is pretty underpowered. But yeah, the battery is nice, and the display is good, looks nice. They've fit into a really nice form factor. And that was our opinion on the Oppo F15. If you want to know more in detail about the phone, you can check out our day in the life video again. If you haven't already, it's on our Hindi channel. Links to which will be in the description. And that pretty much sums up our review. If you have any questions, please let us know. We would be answering them. Where are you from? We are from Bangalore. Next edition would be F17. Yeah, maybe, probably. Can I use it as a gaming phone for my gaming channel? We wouldn't suggest that, because if your budget is 20,000 and you're looking and you're open to online options as well, I think the Realme X2 would be a much better option, given that it has a Snapdragon 730G, which is a completely gaming specific chipset. So I think that would be much better if you want a game, if you have a gaming channel and you play a lot of games. I think that would be a much better option. Even the Redmi K20 is good. I think it would be better than Realme XT or not. Okay, so yeah, the Realme XT is a nice competitor, but it's also priced much lower, and it has a better chipset, which is the Snapdragon 710, and it has much better cameras also. It has a 64 megapixel shooter. Not just going by numbers, but in terms of the final camera output as well, it has much better cameras. So I think the XT, of course, is a better option than the F15. So yeah, I think this pretty much sums up. We've been live for the past half an hour almost. Thank you so much for everyone who has joined. Let's wait for a couple of more minutes to see if there are any questions before we wind up. Please tell me about the best PC processor. Okay, that's off topic, but yeah, that also depends on your requirements. What you want to do, if you want to game or if you want to, edit videos. I think the best place would be to contact us on Twitter. I think that's where we would help you out rather than on the stream right now. Let's see if there are any more questions from the viewers. We have 10 viewers right now. Yeah, I think we would be doing a generic Q&A soon. Also, let us know if we should do this regularly. I mean, the live stream, maybe as and when new phones keep launching, and right after the launch event, maybe if you've missed the event or you didn't get a lot of your questions answered, we'd be glad to do this regularly. As and when a new phone launches, maybe half an hour after the launch, we can do a live Q&A about the phone itself and about our thoughts, wherein we can interact with y'all. I think let us know if you think we should do this on a more regular basis. How to grow a YouTube music label? Again, I think let's just keep this stream to the F15 itself. If you have any generic questions, please reach out to us on any of the social media platforms and we'll get in touch. So yeah, 11 viewers. I think it's the highest we've reached today. Any more questions? Please, you can ask us, or else we'll wind up soon. Again, if you want to know more details, please check out the day in the life video. Also, some minute things. Voice over Wi-Fi is supported on this phone. It's Oppo's first phone to support voice over Wi-Fi, and there is carrier aggregation as well. I did get 4G plus signals with Airtel. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. We should be winding up. How is the headphone jack quality? Vivo S1 was bad. So it's not too good. It's decent. I didn't listen to a lot of music. I did hear some songs and I watched some YouTube videos. And for that purpose, it actually did pretty fine. There are no crackling noises or anything at high volume, so it does a good job. But there is no a dedicated DAC or anything, so it's just normal. Nothing. It's not bad or it's not too good either. Can you tell me what the difference on 675 or 710? When I open PUBG, I get first on, but 710 is third or fourth. Why would the 100 millisecond is near? I did not get your question entirely, but if you're trying to ask me what's the difference between 675 and 710 when it comes to gaming, well, so this is what it is. So 675 is a better CPU, whereas the 710 has a better GPU. Now, when I say better, it's not night and day difference. It's marginally better on the 710 when compared to the 675. But yeah, the gaming experience on both chips are actually pretty good. If you compare, let's say, a phone with a 675 and a 710 side by side, I don't think you'll notice any difference. Maybe in the launching speeds, as you mentioned, but when you game side by side, I don't think you will notice any difference. Both are equally good chipsets in their price range. Please tell me that does a camera megapixel also matter a lot for best cameras? Well, no. As you would have seen, the let's say the iPhone 11 Pro or the iPhone 11 or the Pixels, they have 12 megapixel shooters, and Xiaomi has a 108 megapixel phone, the Mi Note 10, which might come to India very soon. But of course, the iPhone does perform better in a lot of scenarios when compared with the Mi Note 10. But of course, you also have to consider other factors like the aperture, the software optimization, the ISP that's in the chipset, and also the sensor size. All these are factors that lead to a good image output. And of course, if you consider just the details, then if you zoom in, then yes, a higher megapixel count camera will have much more details than compared to a phone with a low megapixel count. But yeah, that's the only difference over there. Back is plastic or glass. The back is plastic. I won't be able to show this on the camera right now, but if I press the back, there is a slight depression that I observe, which wouldn't be there if it was glass. So yeah, it is plastic. Strange to see every YouTuber suddenly talking about Oppo F15 when the other better options are available in the market. Well, we have got the device for review, so it's our job to review the device. We're not saying that you should go out and buy the F15. Of course, there are other options available in the market, but yeah, the device. I mean, we've used the device, and there would be a lot of people buying this phone. So I think that's the reason it's our duty to speak about it and let the consumers know how the phone is. By which editing software do you edit your videos? I used to use Premiere Pro and FCPX. I personally used to use Premiere Pro, but now I've switched to Mac, so it's the FCPX Final Cut Pro X. Please tell me which is the best editing software under 4 GB RAM. Again, I think you should be contacting us later in person to discuss out of topic questions. But yeah, I think you can use a lot of software, like I think Wondershare, Filmora is one. You can use that. Um, I think there's Camtasia. I think such software are light on the CPU as well as RAM. So yeah, I think we should be winding up right now. I don't see any more questions. Also, if you check the comment section, we have the link to our article of the Snapdragon 675 or 710. I think Mr. Khandakar wanted to know, so you should be checking that out. What is the touch sampling rate in this phone? Is it any better than the X2? So we do not have exact numbers at this moment. Sorry, we don't know what exactly the touch sampling rate is. But is the touch any smoother than the X2? Now, yes, with the Realme devices in the past, we have observed that for some reason, we're not saying that the touch wasn't smooth, but it wasn't as smooth as other phones. And this is something we have observed. But with the F15, there's nothing as such. Again, if you want a better idea, you should probably check out the PUBG gameplay, wherein I've used 4-finger claw. So you should be able to get an idea of how the touch response is. No delay or no, yeah, it's smooth. I'm not comparing it side by side with the X2, but yeah, it is smooth. Oh, what do you think? India 5G coming is probably 2021 or 22. Not sure. Let it first roll out on a widespread stage, maybe in the US and other countries, and then we'll see when it comes to India. So yeah, I think it's time for us to end the stream here. It's been 35 minutes. Thank you so much for everyone who's joined in. And unfortunately, if we couldn't answer your question, please tweet it out to us or leave them in the comments section below. and we will answer them later. This video will stay on the channel even after the stream, and so you can watch it from the beginning if you want to know everything about the phone. Yes, I think that is pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching. Please like the video and share it with your friends in case they want to buy the F15. And we'll catch you around in another video. Thank you so much for joining. Bye-bye.